Tomb King's Mortuary Cult Deep Dive Patch 6.3. Okay, let's cover this from top to bottom. Tomb Kings are no longer nerfed for item drops, which by itself makes them much better, but we want to see what the crafting can do. I used Kalia's campaign because Katep, by himself, has a working, fully functional, permanent 20% Mortuary Cult store discount because he's a mob boss. The first part here is the most important. For the first new dynasty, as in new army slot, you pay 10,000 gold and 800 canopic jars, which are much easier to get thanks to returns from battle. And you want to be fighting anyway. But regardless, the cost for new armies escalates. A new servant, 3 versions for the 3 hero types, the cost does not escalate ever. If you have 2,500 gold, 250 jars, and the requisite resources, you can keep cranking them out with whatever level bonuses you've unlocked. Once you discover Leech Priest with instant Elixir of Immortality, Katep has you hooked for eternity. For Lich Priests, incidentally, a new servant requires spices and salt. For Tomb Princes, it's obsidian and iron. For Necrotechs, it's gold and marble. Therefore, these are the most important resources in your campaign, simple as that. Salt, iron, and marble have direct benefits for heroes of those types in terms of recruitment rank, though availability from trade should be sufficient for cult purposes. Flock of Djaf takes 250 gold and 100 jars, and while you need 250 jars to start the tech tree research period, even if it's ROR Carrion, their flaming attack, vicious armor-piercing, really fast beasts, so getting them at the very start isn't your worst move at all. The problem for the rest, they require gold. The ethereal Nehekaran warriors take 500 gold coins, gold resource, and 250 jars. Storm Riders take 750 coins, 500 jars, gold resource, and iron. The Necropolis Knight ones take 1250 gold, 750 jars, iron, gold, and exotic animals to boot. Unlocking all of those are the primary part of Katep's short campaign victory conditions, by the way. Now, for weapons. Gemstones and 100 jars are what you need for Enchanted Lapis Mace, which was already good because it enabled magical attacks. Now it gives weapon strength plus 8% and bonus versus large plus 10, so it's hard for this not to be great for absolutely everybody. Golden Dagger is gold resource and 100 jars. It was never that strong. Here it's melee attack plus 5, which isn't useless, and armor piercing plus 25 points per hit, which can greatly diminish the feeling of soft blows from Lich Priests. Inscribed Khopesh requires iron and 100 jars, and iron is the resource you need to buy more Tomb Princes and to get +1 recruit rank for them, plus a faction benefit +1 armor piercing point in melee. The weapon itself provides melee defense plus 5. It's a weirdly curved blade, you see. And bonus versus infantry plus 15, which is going to get crazy on pre-existing anti-infantry mounts, or gives a skeleton steed rider extra heft against them. Fang of Kuaf takes medicinal herbs and 100 jars, and your reward is melee attack plus 8, not small, and enables poison attacks. Be careful with this and how it interacts, but it can be very nice for you. Double Crescent of Neru requires iron, marble, which is what increases Necrotech's rank and busts construct armor faction wide, and 250 jars. So how does it fare now? Melee attack plus 5, melee defense plus 8, magical attacks, and weapon strength plus 5%. This is an all-rounder, but is most welcome. Blade of Antarak wasn't exactly bad before. 250 jars, marble, and salt. This gets you the Hunger! Regeneration in melee, plus healing cap plus 10% in battle, plus bonus versus infantry plus 10. This greatly increases the independence of your melee sluggers. Spear of Pakth. If you thought that this has an anti-large component, you would be correct. This takes 250 jars, iron, and salt. Like I explained, iron is the critical resource for Tomb Princes, salt is for Lich Priests. I feel like something's new, but I'm not rating my old video for every detail. Speed plus 10% can't possibly be bad. Magical attacks? That's nice. Melee defense plus 5 is also nice, I remember that. Bonus versus large plus 12 is a nice healthy boost. Blade of Setep. Hey, isn't that the 5th Dynasty guy? I'm going to gush about him in another video. This one takes 250 jars, iron, and obsidian. This enables magical attacks to start with, actually debuffs base melee strength by 15 per hit, increases armor piercing by 65 per hit, so a net increase of weapon strength 50, and enables Blade of Setep active ability, which is a single target hex, 100 meters, 44 seconds, 90-second cooldown, basic profile as Assassin Hexes. The effects are now physical resistance minus 20% and armor minus 30 for the duration. Obviously the wielder can punch through physical resistance just fine, but other parts of your army might benefit greatly, especially if the foe is at range. Blade of Morning Fire, that's as in funeral, not sunrise, is coated blue, so it must be good, right? This takes 500 jars, iron, spices, and salt. This gives melee attack plus 10, that's nice. This enables flaming attacks, spicy. Wait, this literally takes spice to craft. They made my meme true. Ahem. Armor piercing damage plus 35 per hit, which beefs up characters regardless of whom, and makes attacks at the discouraged effect minus 16 to enemy leadership for 10 seconds, which is effective against undead, since it's not technically fear or terror. That's kind of a big deal. Destroyer of Eternities. Okay, you won on name alone. 500 jars, obsidian, iron, medicinal herbs. That's a strange concoction. Armor piercing damage plus 60 in melee, good. Bonus versus large 15, doubly good. Active ability heroic, killing blow. I remember you now. Adding this on Tomb Kings and Princes via an item in the weapon slot. Yeah, it's strong. Crook and Flail of Radiance is legendary, so once only, I think. 750 jars, obsidian, gold, gemstones, iron. Wow, they gatekeep this one. It gives melee attack plus 8, melee defense plus 8, weapon strength plus 10%, and bound spell banishment, the light vortex spell. Now, a lot of characters can pack this with Master of Ceremony trait, which is good, but extra vortex spells are really convenient later on when you graduate from using infantry non-stop. The big, meaty boosts to melee stats matter a lot to mounted characters, and probably a lot more to chariot-mounted characters because the base stats tend to plunge to make up for godly charge bonus, and bonus versus infantry, and of course armor. Speaking of armor, Skull Cap of the Moon is the most basic of basics, 100 jars, and requires Fur's resource, which can come early as kata. This offers armor plus 20 and spell resistance plus 10%. You don't always face people with spells, you always face people trying to bash your bare skull in. Helmet of Cassar, we're already up to 250 jars, plus wine and salt. This provides armor plus 10, yes, but also melee attack plus 5 and weapon strength plus 10%. It's critical to understand the significance. This is in the armor slot. Upgrading offense in the armor slot coincides with whatever's in the weapon slot. This is good. Armor of the Ages requires 250 jars, clay, and gold. Unusual setup. This is all defensive. Armor plus 5, melee defense plus 5, and physical resistance plus 10%. This is probably going to see use on actual Tomb Kings a lot because they'll be getting benefit from Tomb Princes with Guardian for 15% physical resistance. Mortuary Robes requires 250 jars, clay, and dyes, so that's very, very different than the weapons. This gives armor plus 10, ward save 5% for peace of mind, melee defense plus 5, and magic power reserve capacity plus 5. I was waiting to see an item with this. Get one on a few Lich Priests in one army, and your reserves get a good little boost. Shield of Petra requires 250 jars, wood, and furs, not your usual desert stuff. This gives armor plus 20, melee defense plus 6, and missile resistance 10%. Good old Petra. Extra resistance to missiles tends to be very good because the skills can raise by 15% over base instead of the standard 10%. Armor of Eternity is legend, or in the colloquial sense, it's technically rare here. 500 jars, spices, iron, and gold, so they make you work for it. Armor plus 15, ward save plus 5%, melee defense plus 5 are all good, but passive ability Regeneration is clothed in the Divine. Armor of Dawn is for weirdos with 500 jars, and the dyes, furs, and spices resources. This gets you armor plus 12, melee attack plus 5 in the armor slot, weapon strength plus 10% in the armor slot, and physical resistance 10%. It's like the best of two prior items mashed together. Scorpion armor is legendary, as was the case prior. 750 jars requires spices, exotic animals, gold, and iron, so you need a lot of setup. Constant benefit is armor plus 15, melee defense plus 10, and physical resistance of plus 20%, all powerful. The passive is 20% ward save when the wearer is under 50% health. I want this on someone on a war kitty. Enchanted items. Sounds simple, but it's not simple anymore. But point is, you can in theory get unlimited quantities of these game drops. Potion of Strength takes 100 gold and spices, so very spicy. This gives weapon strength plus 8% all of the time, plus the traditional one-time use, 33 seconds of weapon strength plus 50%. It's like a one-time heroic killing blow. But more permanent weapon strength is very nice, makes you want these items more, which I'm sure was the point. Potion of Foolhardiness requires 100 gold and salt, the Lich Priest resource for goodness sakes, but the permanent ability is charge bonus plus 20, and that is no joke. Using it gives 31 seconds of Unbreakable and charge bonus plus 40%, and that's percentile, when we just raised the baseline by 20. This is basically meant for mounted characters. Infantry princes probably prefer Potion of Strength. Well, they could go for Elixir of Might instead too, for 100 jars and wine resource, melee attack plus 4, base weapon damage plus 25 per strike, and basically Tomb Strike in a bottle. It says range 100 meters, but anyway, 36 seconds, plus 60% base damage, plus 24 melee attack. You can't really go wrong with this, because even putting it on a Lich Priest, they do mostly base damage to begin with, and have horrid melee attack. Potion of Toughness requires 100 jars and medicinal herbs, so we see some options for unusual territory issues. Armor plus 10 permanently isn't wasted. Oh yeah, this potion actually heals you too. 0.8% heal for 21 seconds. Armor plus 30, melee defense plus 24 during the duration. That's actually pretty decent. Potion of Speed needs 100 jars and exotic animals, so ditto what I just said. Speed plus 10% without even drinking it is radical. The potion itself is 36 seconds, speed and charge speed plus 25%, acceleration plus 18%, and a foe seeker-like fatigue diminishment effect. Icon of Rulership was quietly good before, it is quietly better now. 100 jars, Marble Resource, which favors Necrotex. Leadership plus 5 keeps the character out of crumbling status better, and Hold the Line as a passive means melee defense plus 5 and leadership plus 4 for all allies in a 35-meter radius, and both of those are super important to Tomb Kings. Brooch of the Great Desert needs 250 jars, gemstones, and dyes. Interesting mix. But the reward is full-time speed plus 15%, spell resistance plus 15%, and Vanguard deployment, which is terrifying if it's a war kitty, etc. Death Mask of Karmut takes 250 jars, dyes, and gold, which fits. This grants ward save plus 5%, melee defense plus 5, the character causes terror, even if that wouldn't be the case otherwise, which I think it means is particularly suited to Tomb Princes, though they have their second personal line now and can get terror that way. And attacks cause Discouraged, minus 16 leadership for 10 seconds per the prior item, but this is in the Enchanted item slot. Shroud of Sokoth was interesting before, now it's more so. We're still in the 250 jar section. Furs and obsidian required to craft. This gives charge bonus plus 25%. Percentile, remember, provides the active ability Slippery, something you'd see on Skink Chiefs but is not normally available to Tomb Kings, and provides the passive attributes Stalk and Strider. Strider wipes out terrain movement and combat penalties, and apparently fatigue movement penalties too. But Stalk on characters really not supposed to have it gets very interesting, particularly if you form a goon squad with it. Hieratic Jar, I know this did something special. 250 jars to craft one better jar, clay, and wine. This now grants miscast chance minus 10%, remember this is in the Enchanted item slot, wins reserve capacity plus 10, combinable with Mortuary Robes, and active ability Hieratic Jar, which is, oh yeah, basically box standard Potion of Healing. 0 plus 8% heal for 33 seconds, one use. Those extra benefits are significant. Rare item Ouroboros is in fact our only rare option, 500 jars, obsidian, marble, exotic animals. This increases battle healing cap a shocking 45%, enables poison attacks, and be careful of interactions with that, and passive ability regeneration to take advantage of that healing. Remember, Enchanted item slot. You only get one legendary Vambraces of the Sun in campaign, I believe, so 750 jars to craft, wine, obsidian, gold, gemstones. Holy cow, that's a high ask. Melee attack plus 10, flaming attacks, fire resistance 80%, that's a lot, and passive ability has redundant flaming attacks, and not in the slightest bit redundant. Blinded contact effect, which I gushed about for Blessed Pterodon Riders. Minus 24 melee attack, defense, and minus 30 accuracy, 10 seconds duration. Slap this on a lord, on a war kitty, and watch stuff fall. We're only just now reaching Talismans. With 100 gold and the Necrotect-friendly marble resource, Sun Scarab provides not just 10% fire resistance, but plus 15% physical resistance in the Talisman slot and absolutely stackable with other sources. I think this will quietly be one way to really toughen up your forces. But magical attacks will break through. Oh well, fire resistance is a hedge against a lot of stuff. Obsidian Pendant is one I consider really valuable and important. 250 jars, salt, and obsidian, resources from Kotep's starting province, get you spell resistance plus 20%, 200 barrier hit points, which is kind of token, and allows attacks to do dampened, which negates magical attacks from whatever you're hitting and removes 20% of spell resistance, so juicy against dwarfs, corn, stuff like that. We've just talked about a bunch of stuff increasing physical resistance. Having someone smack enemies with dampened is a big deal. Also, I was going to say melee attacks, but War Kitties exist, and there's no reason their ranged auto attack shouldn't carry this attribute, which should be amazing. Golden Eye of Raw Newt takes 250 jars, gold which you probably figured, and wood resource. Your reward is ward save plus 10% and charge bonus plus 15. This is in the Talisman slot, remember. If you don't have a Talisman of Preservation kicking around, this is a very good option, and optional for warriors. Golden Ankara takes 250 jars, gold, duh, and furs. The reward is armor plus 20, ward save plus 5%, and melee defense plus 5. This wouldn't mean much except it's in the Talisman slot and doubles up with whatever armor you already have and weapons if they're defense boost weapon. Collar of Shakara, proving S&M was not a modern invention, is 500 jars, gemstones, gold, and wine. This gives ward save plus 10%, melee defense plus 5, and 200 emotional support barrier hit points. The legendary in-game mechanics, Amulet of Fasta, requires 750 jars, dyes, gemstones, marble, and gold steep requirements. Reward is ward save plus 20%, which is huge, armor piercing damage plus 10, which is pretty token, and the active ability, 100 meters range, 55 meter radius, 22 second duration, 120 second cooldown. Enemies are armor minus 30 and missile block chance minus 48. That means non-tech buffed Temple Guard would go from 55% block chance to 7%. I can't remember if it was 55 meters before, but it is now, and that has some potential. We're nearing the end. I was very unimpressed with arcane items before for the most part, but let's see. Like potions, a lot of this is world drop stuff. Scroll of Shielding needs 100 jars and iron. It's a one-time, 57-second duration boost of plus 20% ward save for an ally, and a small amount of physical resistance on yourself full-time. Was it ward save before physical resistance? Ward save is good, I can't say anything bad about that. Scroll of Leeching requires 100 jars and wood resource. The passive is 15% spell resistance. The scroll ability is minus 40% to power recharge for wins. Target a spellcaster within 100 meters, lasts 44 seconds. This is not considered a strong ability, but if anyone, and I mean anyone, is targeting you for spells, 15% spell resistance is not trivial, and obviously stacks with other sources like skill tree pips. Scroll of Power is 100 jars and obsidian. This can decrease all cooldowns by 60 seconds once in a battle, but otherwise quietly raises spell intensity by a humble 5% and makes everything you cast stronger. Blue Kepra. I always like the name, 250 jars, marble, gemstones. Current version raises weapon strength plus 5% from an unusual slot and provides spell resistance 50%. 50%! Okay, you're going to be nigh immune to spells soon enough. Not saying that as if it's a bad thing. Vizier's Canopy takes 250 jars, salt, and gold. It grants Causes Terror, but all characters except Tomb Princes, well, that's not even true anymore. All characters can get skills or mounts to cause it generally. Maybe not Katap. And the active ability is a summons of exactly one unit, one time of Skeleton Warriors. Range 50 meters. Now, this is in a faction where such summons basically do not happen, so it's interesting, but it's presented as an escape tool, and I think that sounds about right. Inkill's Canopy. Okay, impress me. 250 gold, wood, medicinal herbs required. This increases magic reserves, gain +1 per turn, which isn't nothing, since you can get multiples of the item. Spell resistance 15% isn't bad. Active ability, oh, I remember you now. 60% spell resistance and a 35 meter radius for 24 seconds, 120 second cooldown. Well, it's good for some things. There's no rare or legendary here. There is Nefarious Scrolls of Mighty Incantations, 250 jars, wood, and obsidian. This provides spell intensity plus 25%. Does it need something else? Oh, wow, oh my. The namesake ability has one use, needs friendlies in range quote-unquote of the spell, but the card here is a bit limited, up to plus 160% power recharge for wins, plus 0.2% to the reserves themselves, one use per battle, 31 second duration. But no, seriously, plus 25% spell intensity, wow. I need to spam this in the future. The final category is banners, and this is Mortuary Cult banners, separate from the tech tree stuff that gobbles your surplus jars, the heralds. These do not look cheap. Emblem of Withering is 500 jars, salt and iron, and this banner can slap Armor Sundering on any unit, ranged, melee, or hybrid. This is love at first sight. You usually need a one-time Regiment of Renown for this. Ulatep's Order is 500 jars and gated behind gold, but can assign stalk to any unit it's slapped on. I have never seen a stalking Necrosphinx. On the other hand, if it's hidden, I would not see it, would I? Indefatigable Pennant is 500 jars and spices, and this is so spicy it provides perfect vigor to a unit it's slapped on. A Necrosphinx that never tires is terrifying. Icon of the Sacred Eye needs 500 jars, obsidian, and gemstones, and this gives reload time reduction 10%, and if that's your Casket of Souls, you're cooking with spirits. Standard of Kasar's Fury is last of the entire video. 500 jars, iron, and obsidian needed. And what's our reward? It's meant for lords and heroes only as a banner, so you're limited by those slots, albeit you can take multiples of one banner now, right? It has the discouraged effect discussed earlier, minus 16 leadership per corrupt whipping, and adds frenzy to the lord or hero concerned, and we haven't seen any, and I mean any, source of frenzy in the entire faction in this entire video, so I don't think it even exists, aside from this banner. I remind as we started that Katep, as the starting legendary lord in a playthrough, has a minus 20% discount to everything I just mentioned, because Katep. And Setup of the 5th Dynasty is available to all factions and brings a far more modest minus 5% discount, but minus 5% on the gold and jars you pay for new armies is still a big deal. There's a lot here, and this is in addition to, not instead of, the item drops you can get naturally. Also, I will mention that, yes, these items can be stolen in battle if you're losing, so try not to lose. Take care and have fun painting the desert red, because with all this stuff running, you have no excuse not to.